There's been a lot of fake news that's been going around over the last couple of days about the EU law's removal from Brexit Britain and how apparently the whole plan has been delayed until 2028. Well, here are some facts. Okay, so yesterday this channel reported that the latest plan has been confirmed, that with the existing bill that's going to turn into legislation in the House of Commons, which is going to the House of Lords now, the plan is still to remove all the EU laws, but by name. So that means that some will exist, but they're going to turn them into British laws and amend them. Because some, why would you change them? Because they're just fine with our standards of, for example, food and other industries. But others will be removed completely by the end of this year, or at latest, a few months after 2024. Now, there's been a lot of other new media outlets have been saying, well, we just discovered something going on in the House of Lords, and they've delayed the whole plan until 2028. Well, that's not true, is it? So we had this, for example, Anthony Robinson saying peers in the House of Lords set to kick Rishi Sunak's EU law shredder into the long grass. An amendment tabled in the Lords could see the controversial sunset clause in the retained EU law bill pushed back to 2028. That's the thing. So when you see the original headline, you'd think something else, like, well, it's been kicked into the long grass. But then obviously underneath it says, well, it's an amendment being tabled now by the Lords that could see the sunset clause being pushed back to 2028. Now, the fact is, it could easily, if Rishi Sunak and the House of Commons surrender to the Lords. It could easily happen. So I'm not predicting it's definitely not going to get pushed back to 2026, 2027 or 8. But it's not even a pushback. It's not delayed. So first things first, the way the House of Lords works is that they could add any amendment. They're going to send it back to the House of Commons. And despite all the chaos of the Tory party and waste of the majority on this issue, they have the majority and they could easily just veto it again. They could override it and they'll send it back to the Lords. And the Lords could do it again. And the Commons will send it back. But they can't. The House of Lords have limitations. They can't send the same amendment again if the Commons reject it. One. Secondly, let's just say hypothetically, if that clause even happens, if that amendment goes through, it's not an actual implementation date that could be 2028. It's basically the deadline. The deadline right now is basically 2024. So the coming year, by the end of the year. Even if that amendment goes through, it basically means that the government can remove the EU laws any moment. They just have a deadline until 2028, for example. Worst case scenario. Now, I'm not saying that I have so much faith in Rishi Sunak's cabinet and Tory government that, oh no, they promised me they're going to do it next week. No. But the 2028 date, even if it happens, is not really the final date. It's basically you have until then to remove it. And it's important to talk about the facts. So trouble is now brewing in the House of Lords, where a cross-party group of peers have tabled an amendment to delay the abolition of redundant European Union rules by 5 years. Now, the retained EU law bill is meant to abolish as many as 4,000 EU laws by the end of 2023. Now, obviously, the people behind it are a bunch of Ramonas in the House of Lords anyway, we know that. And they are trying to use the Windsor framework as an excuse, saying battle lines are being drawn in the Lords over a battle which Rishi Sunak already distrusted over Brexit by some in his party following the Windsor framework, and he cannot afford to lose. So the Lords will want to use the Windsor framework as basically the excuse to say, well, because of this, in the implementation of Windsor framework, you have to wait. You have to basically extend the deadline. From the perspective of the establishment, all this EU Ramona, the EU loving people, I get it from their perspective, because they want to make sure the Windsor framework is implemented properly. But it's still not really the pushback in terms of the final date implementation. It's just basically extending the deadline and as to when you can actually do it. You can do it in 2025, you could do it in 2024, 26, 27. But if that 2028 still depends on the House of Commons surrendering, which is still unlikely, but you never know with these idiots in the Commons. A government spokesperson said that the retained EU law bill will enable us to amend or remove burdensome retained EU law and ensure that we can create the best regulatory environment in the UK to drive economic growth, boost innovation, and develop a competitive advantage in future technology. Brilliant idea. And we have to also, by the way, we've had a lawyer who told us on this channel and obviously on mainstream media as well that the whole thing is an excuse, by the way, because you can, a successful large legal firm can go through the 4,000 EU laws and they could remove it within a month, or at best, at worst, 3-4 months. You can easily do it. But it's just everything is political because the whole project is run by politicians in government and in the House of Commons. That's why everything is slow. That everything that all governments do is slow. The only thing, basically they suck at everything. The only thing that the governments are good at, efficient to do it quickly, is invasions. If they want to invade a country, they'll just do it. Or if they want to impose lockdown policies, they could get through the legislation and the bill within 6 hours. But with important stuff, no. Let's take our time. Absolute idiocy. Anyway, I thought I'd debunk this claim and theory about what's going on in the House of Lords because that's just absolutely inaccurate. I'm Mahyar Tousi and we are the media.